Hey folks, Jesus is coming soon. I truly believe that with everything that I am. Which isn't much anymore, but with everything that I am. I was going to do a follow-up video shortly after the last one, and I just got so busy, y'all. You know, moving and unpacking and trying to make something more homey, I guess you could say. It takes a lot of time. You know, still trying to move everything out the way and unpack, and it's just wild. And plus, when it's just you and your spouse only moving, you know, you're just so wore out from the move, you just don't, you're slowly but surely unpacking. And that's how it's been, just slowly but surely. Finally got it to where it's decent, you know. Been helping her do some things out there and slowly fixing up my shop out here, the hangout spot, my little hangout spot. Tell y'all, God is good. And I can't stop thinking about when we did move and we got all our stuff out of that house, and we were looking around in there, all the mold. Not just any mold, it was a black mold. You know, that stuff they say smells earthy, like dirt. And that's exactly the smell that house was emitting, you know. It was horrible. And I could never sleep in there. Miserable. And I kept telling my wife, I could feeling that it's this house. So bad I had this feeling, because when I left and I was gone for a few hours, I didn't cough near as much. Of course, the poison was still in my body, you know, and I still coughed and everything, but even now I still cough here and there, but it's not near as bad. And I guess it's going to take a while for, you know, all that poison I've been breathing in for 5 years to get out of my body, you know. It was just worse over the last year and 8 months or whatever. Super bad. But God is good, and He got us out of that situation, and I give Him all the glory and all the praise. You know, regarding all the weird stuff that I was talking about that was happening around this new house when we moved in, I didn't clarify enough, you know. There's people talking about, oh, you're just under spiritual attack. Well, you think? I mean, y'all, I know this, and it's been going on for a long while, you know. But yet, here am I, you know. I'm not going to turn my back on the Lord. Not going to happen. Though the enemy is trying to make me stumble and fall. But the Lord always shows up. Literally, everything that we have needed, He has supplied. Everything. Little or big. Why would I turn my back on that? It's just the dumbest thing that I could hear is to hear how someone turned their back on the Lord because they didn't get their way, or eternal fire. No, thank you. I'm good on that. Ain't no sin. Ain't nothing worldly, nothing fleshly worth spending eternity in the lake of fire. Nothing. You know, I'll tell y'all something. It's wild how it happens, but Lord knows I ain't lying about this. Anything that I think of that acorns falling on this tin up here. Anything I could think of that I need, and it's on my heart, you know. Like, I wanted to fix this shop up to be my little hangout spot. Of course, where I could put all my fishing stuff and, you know, all that. And I said, man, I'd love to have a TV out here. Just a little cheapo TV. And I found one. Literally. Found one. I was like, there ain't no way that thing works. I picked it up and brought it here. Plugged it in. Nothing wrong with it. Thank you, Lord. Just little stuff like that. And I was like, well, this chair that I have out here, it was like sitting on a stone. It was so, you know. Then I found this one that I'm sitting in. It even reclines. Literally, folks, everything that... It's so hard to explain, but I know some of you may get it. God is so good. And for me to turn my back on Him? No, thank you. For what? Because I've been going through a little bit of things here and there? So? Haven't we all? Even through all the pain and emotional stuff, and, you know, God is still good. And He's been good. And He will always be good. All glory to God. Well, last week, I didn't want to scare anybody here in the house, so I didn't even mention this to my wife or nothing. I just kind of brushed it off. No, when we lived down in South Louisiana over 10 years ago, this had to have been 12 or 13 years ago, we were having some very odd encounters with something that was out in the woods, you know. Some would call it whatever you want to. Well, I think it's just a demon. Call it Bigfoot or whatever. I don't even like talking about this stuff because people ridicule you so bad. When you see that thing in the face, it ain't what people on the Discovery Channel or whatever try to say. It's this big friendly ape thing. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. It's malevolent, I assure you. Its eyes are dead. It's a monster. Exactly what it is. A monster. Tell y'all, my wife won't talk about it whatsoever. If I bring it up, she shuts down. She don't want, nope. She won't talk about it. If anything comes on TV, even a commercial talking about anything to do with that monster, she goes straight to her phone and tunes it out. She don't want nothing to do with it. I ain't the only one that's seen this stuff. Anyways, how I know it's a demon, could be a hybrid, I don't know, half demon, half human. I don't know what it is. I can't. All I know is it's not an animal. It's not a monkey, not an ape. There ain't none of that. It's got human features to an extent. But I've been on this channel for 5 years and I've never talked about this. I wasn't ever going to. I was out here, this had to have been about 3 or 4 nights ago. Again, there ain't nobody that lives behind us. This is just woods for miles and miles and miles and miles. About 50, 60 feet behind our fence here, there's a little old pond there. Spring-fed pond. It ain't very big, maybe 40 feet in a circle. I didn't think there was anything in there, so I just grabbed a fishing pole the other day and I went out there and cast it a few times, and I caught 5 bass out of there. I was shocked. I didn't think there was anything in there. They weren't, they're about that big, dinks, that's what we call them. I was out here burning trash the other night. No old fence post things that I had to put up new fence and stuff. Not all of it, just, the bad spots. And I heard something that I haven't heard in 35 years. Including when we lived down south, when we lived around woods for miles and miles and miles and miles. Nobody was around. Literally, there was a high line back there. You could go out there and you could see like 18, 19-inch footprints that look like a human footprint. A flat-footed human. Well, I'm flat-footed, so it kind of looked like my footprint in the sand, But I'm only a 12, This was 18, 19 inches. Those like basketball players that were running around out here. I didn't know what that was until I seen what it was. And let me tell you, when scared is not... Scared is an understatement when you see that thing face to face. That thing is beyond evil. Beyond evil. And I smelled straight sulfur. That's how I knew it was, when I was down there fishing or whatever the case may be. This was when we lived down south, down in Natchitoches Parish. I don't want to talk about it too much, y'all. I really don't. I'm sorry. It just makes all the hair stand up on me, Still try to put that out of my mind. Anyway, we lived down close to, pretty much right on Black Lake in Natchitoches, in Campty, Louisiana. Well, it was in between Campty and Coshada. It was called Fairview Alpha, Louisiana. Y'all can look it up on Google Maps and you'll see Black Lake right there. And where we lived, it was backed up to the outskirts of the lake there, and they called it Alligator Slough. And me and my wife, we had a four-wheeler back then, and we used to ride down there. And I had a dip net, and we had a fish tank, and I used to always try to I always wanted a little baby alligator gar to put in the fish tank. Well, we went down there, and I was dip netting. I wasn't paying attention to nothing around me. I was just busy dip netting. Actually, I had that dip net up there on behind the rack there. I caught a little bass about that big. Put it in a little bowl I brought. And I caught a little turtle. And then I pulled out a baby. It wasn't an alligator gar. It was a long-nosed gar or a spotted gar. They all look the same to me. Alligator gar is just a little different. But I put that in the bowl. And then I heard this loud splash across the way. And I looked at my wife and I said, "You hear that?" And she just was frozen. Now, about that time, I saw a family of hogs coming across. They were swimming across the water like they were running from something. Ooh, I'm getting chills. This is only the first encounter, right? I didn't think none of it. They were swimming the opposite ways, or I'm starting to tear up. This stuff, it still creeps me out, It's stuff that I want to block out of my mind. I don't want to think about it. But I want to tell y'all about it because I've never talked about it. It was a mama hog, and there was 4 babies. They swam across the lake, and they were out of breath, like they were running from something. I didn't really think nothing of it. I thought maybe, you know, there was some coyotes or something chasing. I don't know. Supposedly there's black bear down there. I ain't never seen a black bear. I ain't never seen a bear in Louisiana, period. In my life, I've been in the woods my whole life. I've never seen one. Not to say there ain't none. I just never seen one. And they're loud, and you know, you just know a bear, they're not quiet. And they definitely don't have human faces, and they don't have hands, right? They don't have feet like we do. My wife was still frozen, and I was over there, you know, probably about 20 feet from her. I was dip netting. I was wading out there dip netting. And she said my name. Her voice was real shaky. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she looked over at me and then looked back what she was looking at. I didn't see it. I just kept smelling sulfur. I thought maybe it was the water, because I was stirring up, you know, that mud stinks down there. If anybody's been to Black Lake, it stinks. That's my favorite lake to fish at. It truly is. I've caught my biggest bass out of there. I caught a 9-pound bass out of there back in 2014. She started backing up to the truck. Well, we had an SUV back then. It was a Ford Expedition 4-wheel drive, like a 04 model. And she was like, "We need to go." And she was pregnant at the time, and I think this was 2011. So she was pregnant with our daughter. And I thought maybe, you know, she wasn't feeling good or whatever the case may be. So I got out of the water, and she was just still staring at whatever she was staring at. And for some reason I didn't look. I don't know why I didn't look, but I just didn't look. We got up there and we got in the truck. I loaded all my stuff in there. She locked the door as soon as she got in. Like, what's that gonna do? You know? We got glass. I went to drive off, and she said, "Did you see that?" And I said, see what? I saw a lot, yeah, the hogs. Yeah, I saw the hogs. She was like, "No. Did you see that standing in the water, maybe 30 feet from you?" "No." "What was it?" She said, "I don't know. But it was staring at you. And it was very hairy. Had the face of a human being. It was real dark skinned. Like, it really, like a pale brown." She said that it had like piercing emerald green looking eyes, you know. And where I was standing, it was probably waist deep. And this was 30 feet from me, a little deeper of water, and it was to its knees. And I said, "Could it have been a bear?" She said, "With a human face?" "No." She said, "I saw its hands. It had hands, phalanges, fingers, and they were massive. And it was still just watching me, seeing what I was doing." That creeped me out. Shortly after those hogs had ran across, that thing, you know, came up, crept up over there to me. I went back out there like an idiot, I know. Well, I took my shotgun out there. I'm gonna tell y'all, after seeing what I saw that time, I don't think a shotgun would have done nothing. I went out there by myself too. My wife refused to go. She didn't want to go back down there after what she saw. Went to the same spot, Alligator Slough, where I always went. And crazy thing is, when I was a kid, my dad had a hunting lease out there, same spot, and we used to camp right there in that exact spot. But people really didn't want to go out there no more for some reason. This was back in the early 90s, you know. There used to be alligator all out there. And as a matter of fact, when I was about 6 years old, there, we went down there one spring, late spring. It was closer to May. And I went down to the boat launch. And y'all gonna be thinking like it's an actual boat launch with, you know, concrete, wood. No, you just back down in the sand and unload your boat. Someone just dug out, you know, some sand right there at the lake. And I walked down there and I saw a whole ton of baby alligator. And y'all, I was so close to grabbing one of them and taking it home, because that was always my favorite animal of all time, until I saw an otter for the first time. But there's no more alligators out there, and I didn't know why. I had no idea. That people killing them off, I don't know. But the entire time we lived down there, and all those times I went to that lake, I'd never seen an alligator again. I'm not saying there's not any out in Black Lake anymore, but I just never seen any. Since I was a kid, they were everywhere. Again, they could be killing them off, I don't know. Same thing with a few other lakes around us. There used to be alligators on them, and they're gone. There's one or two that still have some. Anyways, I went out there. Sorry, I'll get to rambling. I went out there, and this time I didn't bring the dip net. I just brought my fishing rod, and I was just out there fishing or whatever. And I took the four-wheeler. Didn't take truck this time. Anybody that ever drove a older Ford four-wheel drive knows, right? When you put it in four-wheel drive, you got two tires that spin. And I do believe it's the driver's rear and the passenger front. The other two are dead. They do nothing. Nothing at all. Couldn't tell you how many times I've gotten in a situation in that expedition going back there and stuff where literally there was no point. What's the point of even having the thing being a four-wheel drive when it just two tires pull? I might as well just leave it in two-wheel drive at that point, because it did nothing. It was just pointless to have that. Four-wheeler I had was four-wheel drive. I had a lot of hours on it though, but it was pretty good four-wheeler. I don't have no stuff like that no more. But anyways, I was casting out and stuff, and I heard some rustling in the brush behind me, the briars and everything. These leaves crunching, and whatever it was sounded heavy. Now, I've heard rumors that there's, 600-700 pound hogs down there. I was like, get out of here. There ain't no hogs that big down there. But people swear by it. They just, they say, oh yeah, I've seen it. Whatever. Well, I backed up to the four-wheeler and I grabbed my shotgun off the gun rack there. And I had it. Whatever it was making a lot of noise, and as soon as I moved, it stopped. Like there was nothing. No noise. I didn't hear no birds anymore. No crickets. There was no sound. It was just deafening quiet at this point. Chills. And this was back when we had the iPhone 4, this front camera was trash. I didn't want to turn around. I don't know, I just had this feeling, kind of like I did here, just that evil, like something evil is around, that feeling. So I grabbed my phone, I turned the camera on, and I flipped it around to where it showed my face. Kind of put it over my shoulder, and I snapped a picture. Turned it this way, I did it a few times. I went to my pictures and I started zooming in, I screenshot it, zoom in, screenshot it, zoom in, look around. 1 second, I'm gonna show y'all what I saw. I'm still looking for it, y'all. I had to press this button so it won't delete what I've already done. Hold on 1 second. All right, finally, I had to dig through thousands of pictures, and boy, that gives me the heebie-jeebies. Now, what I did right here, I outlined what you see there. Let's see. All right. Right there where my finger is, that's the nose. You see the mouth right there. There's the eyes. There's a hand right here. So this blade of grass right here, I don't know what you call that. And I'm sorry for this was an iPhone 4 front camera. So this blade of grass right here, after the fact, I went back out there about 3 or 4 days later with my daddy. He didn't believe me. Of course, nobody wants to believe you when you see some stuff like this, right? Oh, you're crazy, you're crazy. How do two people that don't do drugs, don't drink, see the same exact thing? How's that? Anyways, I went back down there, and this right here, I measured it with a tape measure. 8 foot 5 inches tall. This right here, and it goes all the way down. It's like a big weed. So the top of that thing's head there. Of course, this thing's kind of bent. But look at that. There's the top of the head there, like a cone. Again, I'll put it up there closer. You can see the nose and that tree right here, where it's standing behind. Half of it's behind that tree. That tree was 2 of me. 2 of me. Anyways, why I wanted to talk about all that, I don't know if I already said it. This stuff that I've seen and things, just it truly haunts you, you know. It's hard to explain. It truly is. But I was out here burning the trash. It was 2 or 3 nights ago. And I think I did say some of this, but I don't think I said what. I heard something that I haven't heard in 35 years. A whippoorwill. It's crazy that my phone just whistled as soon as I said that. Sorry, I wanted to see what that was. Nothing important, and it just whistled. I said whippoorwill. We don't really get those here anymore in Louisiana. I have not, and I've been in and out of the woods and outside all hours of the night, but I heard it, and when I did, it didn't sound like, it sounded like something trying to mimic it. Not nothing I could do, or a person that I know. I used to know a guy that can make cricket sounds and sound just like a cricket, but this was just odd, and it made all the hair stand up on my body. And I kind of ignored it, and I was just acorns. So when I go talking about this stuff, there's always something that distracts me. Sends a shock through my body, What was I talking about? Exactly what the enemy wants there. Oh, anyways, so I ignored it, and I was just standing out there, I'm trying not to let the grass catch fire. There it went again. I don't want the grass to catch fire, so I kind of sit there, or make sure the fire goes out. We didn't have much rain in a while, so got closer. This time it sounded like it was right there. Pretty much what it sounded like. It scared me so bad, y'all. I can't say scared, It's that feeling of evil, and it's so hard to explain unless somebody else has experienced something like that. We have a tree. I'll go out here and show y'all in a minute. It's already been 30 minutes on this video. I do apologize. We have a tree right here, a big giant white oak, and I heard a distinct on that tree. So yeah, surely the enemy is constantly attacking me. Why me? I don't know. But it's a constant trying to throw me off. Even before I truly came to the Lord, this stuff was, haunting me, messing with me. I didn't give my life to the Lord until the end of 2012. And this stuff that me and my wife were experiencing was going on from about September of 2011 to the time we moved, the beginning of February 2015. We didn't really have no troubles after we moved from down there in Natchitoches Parish. We did move to a little town called Houghton, Louisiana. We lived up there for a while. Then we moved to Bossier. We made our way around everywhere, and ain't really been back around no woods. But you talk about creepy creeperton, folks. We'll go back here and show y'all some stuff. All right, so ignore the stuff everywhere, but there's a fence I put up. Some bits and pieces. Here's that tree. And this tree is pretty massive. And that there is muscadine vines. To show you, muscadine vine. There's the whole tree there. All right. And there's a space here that's probably, I'm standing in poison oak, probably about 3 foot right here. Whatever it was hit the tree here. There's back here a bird or something in there. That pond is literally right behind that tree. And it's from there way over there, way over that way. But there ain't nothing but woods back here. But we got some neighbors over there. Got some neighbors over there. Nothing back here but woods for miles and miles and miles and miles. So standing here at the burn pile, there's the fence, and you hear way off in the distance. A couple seconds later, you hear it like right here. Or better yet, right there where that tree is. Oh, it made my hair stand up on me. Anyway, folks, I just wanted to share that with y'all, and I don't know why, because I already know what's coming next. The ridiculing and, well, you ain't got no faith. You this, you, I know how it is. I know exactly how it is. But these people don't know my heart. The good Lord does. The good Lord does, and I try. I'm not the smartest man in the world. Matter of fact, I still suffer from a concussion that I've had 6 years ago. So forgetful. Sometimes I forget where I'm at. I don't know where I'm at when I'm driving. Just weird things. Plus all the low oxygen I dealt with last year. I feel stupid now, But through all that, I still try to do what the Lord put on me to do. Now, if you don't believe that my brain is fried now, go back and watch videos that I posted 5 years ago in 2020 compared to now, how sharp I was then. You'll see. I told my wife to do that not long ago. Just go look. Those videos, I have YouTube videos from 2013 on here. Doing, 0 to 60s in cars and stuff. I never deleted them. I didn't really care to. But, y'all, Jesus is coming so very soon. There's some strange things happening other than that, that I talked to my buddy Randy on the phone. So last night, I do believe. And he said in Florida, some similar stuff's happening. You know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, these white oak trees right here, all the leaves were brown. They were falling. Matter of fact, you can still, there's some leaves all over the place here. I need to rake them up, but all of them were brown. Tell me now why they all turned green. Up there, all of them have turned green. Here it is, November, the end of November. And I was sitting out here about right at dark, night before last, and I heard cicadas. What? A lot of y'all won't get that, but if you're from the South, you know, we don't get cicadas in November. That's a summertime thing, August and early September. Hell, I'm telling y'all, Jesus is coming so very soon. Call me crazy, call me what you want to, but keep looking up. Romans 10:9-13, I love all of you. I truly do. God bless.